Hey everyone, Dave, Dr. Shock Becker. I'm back with part two of my Oscars 2020, If I Had the Vote. I'll be taking a look at the remaining categories that I want to cover anyway. And wearing my Dr. Shock sweatshirt that Wolfman Josh had bought me for my birthday in 2017, gave it to me at the meetup in Salt Lake City back in 2017. And it's a little big on me now, but I'm going to wear it. I love it. Anyway, let's get right into it. Again, I'm only doing certain categories. I'm not doing the technical ones, and I'm not trying to predict what's going to win. I'm just saying what I would vote for if I had the vote. So let's get on with the first ones. And here we have Best International Film. Now, I did not get to see two of them. Corpus Christi and Les Miserables. I only saw 3 of the 5 nominees. So you got to take this for what it's worth. Yeah, Honeyland. I already talked about this one in the previous video when I did the Best Documentary category. It's a Macedonian documentary about a female beekeeper and how her life changes when some careless neighbors move in next door. It was shot over the course of 3 years. The filmmakers edited down hundreds of hours of footage into a feature-length motion picture. There's no narration, which I liked. And we're just thrown into the mix here. As I said, it's also up for Best Documentary, and I think it definitely deserved both nominations. Pain and Glory. I'll tell you, Pedro Almodovar is one of those filmmakers whose work catches me off guard sometimes for some reason. I mean, I know he's an awesome director, but sometimes it just really gets to me more than I thought. It happened in 2002 with Talk to Her, and it happened again this year with Pain and Glory, which in many ways is Almodovar's most personal film. Antonio Banderas plays an aging director who's lost his muse, but finds himself drawn back into the public life with some startling consequences, actually. It's so beautifully crafted with excellent performances throughout, and I found myself thinking about this one for days. It's damn near a masterpiece. And in any other year, Pain and Glory would be my choice in this category, but this was the year of Parasite. This one will come up again later on in this video, but wow. What an amazing movie with twists and turns you can't possibly see coming, yet feel perfectly suited to the chaotic world that director Bong Joon-ho creates. I mean, wow. Sorry, I keep saying that, but this movie was extraordinary. It's my choice, hands down, for Best International Film, and I will be stunned if it doesn't win. I mean, it's also nominated for Best Picture. And, when a movie gets dual nominations like that, that usually means it's going to win for Best International. Not necessarily for Best Film overall, but definitely International. Oh, and this is something I meant to do last time. Circle my choice for the winner. And I did that so awkwardly. I'm glad I didn't do it in the last video, and I'm not doing it anymore now. Other notable titles. We have Birds of Passage. Again, as I mentioned during my review of the Best Documentary nominee in the previous video, if they expanded the nominees to include more than 5 movies, these would be my nominees, starting with Birds of Passage. It's set in the YU-controlled region of Colombia from the 1960s to the 1980s. It's kind of epic and sprawling in that way, and it details the origins of drug trafficking in that country. It's beautifully shot, set in some remote areas, and the imagery alone makes it worth checking out. Now, the performances aren't the strongest. According to the filmmakers, who incidentally were husband and wife when they started production on the movie, and 10 years later when it ended, they had divorced, amicably, from what I understand. But a good portion of the cast was made up of non-professionals who were indigenous to the region. And it shows. It's not necessarily the best acted film, but as a crime movie and a document of that country's tumultuous history, it's a winner and well worth checking out. The Night Shifter. If you want to know more about my thoughts on this one, check out Horror Movie Podcast episode 189 and the most recent episode of the Land of the Creeps podcast, where the host and I discuss our top 10 horror movies of 2019. I will say, though, that this is as unique and as chilling a horror film as I've seen this year, and it rivals last year's Terrified, which is another great South American movie. That's all I'm going to say. For more, check out those 2 podcasts. I'm a co-host on those. Again, it's Horror Movie Podcast, episode 189, and the most recent Land of the Creeps. I don't know, maybe one is posted since then, but it's either the most recent or the one just before the most recent. But Night Shifter is excellent. And then Shadow. Zhang Yimou is a filmmaker who's been on my radar for over 20 years, well over 20 years. He started in the 90s with these deeply moving dramas like Raise the Red Lantern and To Live, before combining gorgeous imagery and historical action in the early 2000s with Hero and House of Flying Daggers, two masterpieces in my opinion. Shadow combines elements of both of its director's past accomplishments. It's a movie set hundreds of years in the past with some beautiful action sequences, and it's also a good character study, an effective romantic drama. It has it all, and I recommend you not only watch this one, but go back and check out Zhang Yimou's entire back catalog, especially Hero and House of Flying Daggers. Those are excellent. Next up, Best Actor. Here we go. We got Joaquin Phoenix, The Joker, Adam Driver in Marriage Story, Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Antonio Banderas in Pain and Glory, and Jonathan Pryce in The Two Popes. And apparently my son and my wife they got something, some loud conversation going on upstairs. But I'm going to keep rolling with this. Some great performances here. Leonardo DiCaprio does such a good job as the actor. Sort of past it, he becomes just sort of a working actor at that point. He's not a star. He had been big in television westerns, and he's past it by this point. In the late 60s, Adam Driver, brilliant in Marriage Story, as again the other half of Scarlett Johansson. Going through a breakup. Antonio Banderas, just brilliant in Pain and Glory. I was so happy to see him nominated for this one. He is so good. And Jonathan Pryce did a good job in The Two Popes as well. Again, that's the movie about Pope Benedict retiring and turning the reins over to Pope Francis. And Jonathan Pryce plays Pope Francis and does a great job. But my choice is Joaquin Phoenix. He's so good in The Joker. I mean, he's been sweeping up awards, and rightly so. He's brilliant in this one. And he would be my vote. That would be the actor I would vote for. That would be, yeah, he's my choice. I would not be unhappy if Antonio Banderas or Leonardo DiCaprio won, or even Adam Driver. Jonathan Pryce, I think, he did a good job, but not quite in the same league as these other four, in my opinion. Other notable performances. I got more here than in any other category. Eddie Murphy, Dolomite Is My Name. So good as Rudy Ray Moore. I mean, I think one of Eddie Murphy's heroes, or idols, I should say, growing up was Rudy Ray Moore. He does such a good job as him in this movie. It's about the making of Dolomite, one of the great bad movies of all time. But Eddie Murphy is such a good actor. I don't think he gets his due. I mean, you go back to the days of 48 Hours and Trading Places and Beverly Hills Cop. He was excellent. And later on, I know he was nominated for Dreamgirls. And, of course, is the voice of Donkey in Shrek, which for me was the highlight of the first film. He's just excellent. Christian Bale in Ford versus Ferrari. You could make the case that Matt Damon was the lead actor in this one. But Christian Bale, I thought, was, he was excellent. When he was on screen, I thought is when the movie really popped. As he plays a rather short-fused race car driver and does a great job. Robert De Niro. It's funny how the two supporting actors in The Irishman were nominated, but Robert De Niro was overlooked. I thought De Niro was excellent in The Irishman. He was, deserving of, some acclaim for that. Another great Robert De Niro performance. Robert Pattinson in The Lighthouse. Both him and Dafoe, I think, were excellent in this film. And this was an eye-opener. I know Robert Pattinson has been good in the past. I know he was good in a movie called Good Time from 2017. Gave a great performance in that one, and just extraordinary in The Lighthouse. It's a two-man movie. It's a genre film in black and white, and it's beautiful. I love it. I know it's up for best cinematography, and it would be my vote for best cinematography. Just because I want to see a genre film get some votes. And Taron Egerton as Rocket Man, again embodied Elton John, and he actually won the Golden Globe Award as well. and well-deserved. Next, screenplay. Best original screenplay. This could be the strongest 5 nominees for best original screenplay maybe in the last 10 years. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. All of these are excellent. You have Sam Mendes and Christy Wilson Cairns for 1917, Ryan Johnson for Knives Out, Noah Baumbach for Marriage Story, Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Bong Joon-ho and Han Jin-won for Parasite. All of these. I would not be upset if any one of these 5 won the award. My vote is Quentin Tarantino, though. I mean, this would be his 3rd Oscar for writing, and he's extraordinary, and I think he deserves it. He would be my vote. But again, any of these 5 winning, I would have no problem with it. These are just 5 incredibly strong nominees. But Tarantino would get my vote. Then we have Best Adapted. Steve Zalian for The Irishman, Taika Waititi for Jojo Rabbit, Todd Phillips and Scott Silver for The Joker, Greta Gerwig for Little Women, Anthony McCartan for The Two Popes. I'm torn here. I really loved Jojo Rabbit. I thought that was such a cool script. They took, Nazi Germany and added some humor, made it funny. Hitler plays a supporting character, one of the funnier characters in the film, played by the director and writer, Taika Waititi. I'd really be tempted to go with that, but I might go with Greta Gerwig for Little Women, because I think she kind of got robbed out of a director's nomination that was well-deserved, because Little Women really is extraordinary. And a lot of it is just the way it was put together, and she did a great job. So I would like to see Greta Gerwig win for Little Women, but again, I would not be unhappy with a Jojo Rabbit win. And they're all strong. I mean, they really were all good screenplays, but those are my 2 sort of favorites. Best Director, here we go. Again, strong nominees here. Sam Mendes for 1917, Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, Todd Phillips for The Joker, Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. It's you got Scorsese and Tarantino, 2 of my all-time favorite filmmakers here, duking it out. I would probably vote for Tarantino. He has won Oscars, but he has not won a directing Oscar, and I think he deserves it. But I'd be so tempted to go with Bong Joon-ho or Sam Mendes, because 1917 was extraordinary, and Sam Mendes and then the way it was constructed is a big reason why. And Bong Joon-ho just did such a great job with Parasite. I'll probably go with Tarantino. I hate not voting for Scorsese. I really do. And The Irishman is another masterpiece. It really is another Scorsese masterpiece. And how many more of those are we going to get? Well, every time out, he seems to be doing a great job. I didn't see The Silence, so I can't talk to that one. But The Wolf of Wall Street is one of my favorite movies of the past decade. It really is. And shows that he still has it in him to make these edgy, entertaining films. But I'm going to go with Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And again, but I would not be unhappy if Bong Joon-ho won for Parasite. Other notables, again, Greta Gerwig for Little Women. She was, did a great job with that. She should have been nominated. Pedro Almodovar, Pain and Glory. Again, just a masterpiece of a film. I loved it. And Jordan Peele's Us. You could really make a case he deserved it. He's really showing himself as a talented filmmaker. I mean, I compared him on the Horror Movie Podcast, where we were talking about Us and also the documentary Horror Noir earlier in 2019. I want to say it was around February or March it was released, maybe even April 2019. I made the comment that Jordan Peele, one of the great things about Us is just the way it's constructed. That opening scene, walking through the carnival, it's just so, it's precision, it's perfection almost. And I think Jordan Peele should have at least been considered for Best Director and probably gotten a nomination even. Brings us to the last one, Best Picture. 9 nominees: 1917, Ford vs. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in America, and Parasite. a really strong crop of movies for 2019, a lot better than 2018. I think of all the 2018 nominations, I think there might have been 8 or 9 of them in 2019, in the 2019 ceremony for the 2018 films. Only one made my top 10, and that was Black Klansman, Spike Lee's Black Klansman. That would have been my choice for Best Picture of last year. I know that Green Book won. A good movie, and there were other good movies. Vice was a good movie. There were other good movies released that year. Roma was really good. But I think this crop is even better. I mean, even if you look something like Ford versus Ferrari, 2.5 hours, but it flew by. It really did. It was so engaging. Jojo Rabbit, again, that comedy about, set in Nazi Germany. Extraordinary. The Joker was a dark, brooding picture and well-deserving. Marriage Story, a searing drama. Little Women was expertly crafted. It's awesome. And what can I say? Once Upon a Time in America it's probably going to be my second favorite film of the year. It sits right now as my second favorite film. As a matter of fact, 4 of these nominations are in my top 10 right now. I mean, I still have a lot more to see before I finalize my 2019 list, but 4 of them are there. Once Upon a Time in America. But if you were to tell me that in a year where both Scorsese and Tarantino released a movie, that I would go with 1917 as Best Picture, I probably wouldn't believe it. 1917, it's what an experience it was seeing this in the theater. 2 soldiers carrying out a dangerous mission behind enemy lines. It's shot as if it's in real time. You're following them along. I mean, you could tell some areas where they cut, but so good, really so good. That's why I wouldn't be upset if Sam Mendes won for 1917 over Tarantino, because 1917 is my choice, and it is my favorite movie thus far of 2019. Let me know what you thought of my choices. Let me know what your choices are for this year in the comments. Like this video, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. And this is Dave, Dr. Shock Becker, and I'll be back again soon with another video.